As a photographer myself, the program of choice for me when it comes to processing images, not only for print purposes, but also for the internet use, is a program called Lightroom. It's from Adobe, the people who make Photoshop. In fact, if you go to their website and look up Lightroom, they even call it Photoshop Lightroom, and that is not to be confused with Photoshop. These are two completely different programs, and if you do not currently own Lightroom, you can try it out for free for 30 days. Here at the website, just click on the try button. You can download the program and follow along with these tutorials and see what you think. And if you like what you see, it's a very reasonable price for this amazing program. It's, I believe, only $150 to get the full version of this program. And I think what we'll do for this tutorial is just walk you through the typical steps that I take to prepare images. And we'll use an actual shoot that I just recently did in the country of Peru. And we'll show you just how easy it is to prepare your images. Let's open up Lightroom. And let's create a new catalog. And the first thing that you want to do is import the images that you've taken. And so just under File, go to Import Photos. Okay, and then Lightroom will ask you, okay, where are the images that you want to import? And they present all of the hard drives that are currently connected to your computer over in this panel here. And so we just need to go to the hard drive that contains the images. As you click on the folder, you will see a display of thumbnails of all of the images that are currently in that folder. Now, this does not mean that they are included in the project. Right now, we're just seeing a preview of all of the images that are in that folder. And you can choose to import them all. Currently, they come in by default as being checked. Or if you prefer, you could go through these thumbnails and select the ones that you want to import into your Lightroom project. I'm just going to go ahead and import all of the images in that folder. And depending on how many images you have, this could take a moment. You'll see your progress bar up here. Okay, and then once they're all imported, by default you'll see them as a list of thumbnails, not only up here, but also on a strip down at the bottom that you can scroll through. But as you're working with them, you can go full screen, and we can start with the first image. And using your arrow keys, just go quickly through the images. And what I do when I get back from a shoot is I'll go through my folder of images, and I will select the ones that I think either myself or my client will use. And when I see one that I like, I just use the keyboard shortcut of P to flag that image as a pick. This is one that I think might work. And this way you can eliminate any that are out of focus, and that way you present your clients, as well as the next time you need to pick images, you've got the best ones sorted out. If you're not quite sure, just by looking at the large image, whether an image is focused properly or not, you can bring your mouse into the area and just zoom in, and then you can quickly tell that, yeah, we've got a problem here. And then just zoom back out and move on. And I think I'll pick a couple of these badly exposed images just to show you what we can do in correcting them. All right, well, I've put you on pause. I've gone through and made some picks, and I've purposely picked some that really need some help. The exposure is bad, or the composition is needing some work. Okay, maybe here's another one we could try and fix up. And once you have made all the picks that you want to work with, then what you can do is go down here to where it says Filter and choose Flagged. And now the only images that will appear at the bottom of our strip are the ones that we have picked with our keyboard shortcut of P. And now, before we print these images to JPEGs, we can go through and make all of our color corrections, our temperature, our white balance. Some will need some help there, and some cropping perhaps. And the way that we can make our corrections and enhancements is to switch from the library mode that we were using when we were going through to make our picks, switch to the develop mode. And when you're in the develop mode, you'll see that you have a wide range of tools that will help you process these images in almost every conceivable way. Now, of course, there are some things that you can still do better in Photoshop, but for a program that only costs $150, this is just an amazing tool to help you not only organize all of your images, but also process them very quickly and efficiently. And then, as we'll see near the end of this tutorial, how easy it is to resize the images for any specific need that you have. Okay, well, let's start showing you how we can work with these images. By default, this processing center over here has a main tool section right in this area here. And this allows you to change the white balance of the image that's shot. Right now it was just a little bit on the yellow side. Well, we can back off on that a little bit and make it a little bit more natural light. And then we can change the exposure of the image. It was just a little hot. And then we can add a little bit of black, maybe some contrast. And a little bit of vibrance sometimes helps an image, or saturation. You want to be careful on the saturation. That can really become too much very quickly. And so you can see how quickly and easy it is to enhance an image. And when you're happy, then you can just move on to the next image. And this one is perhaps a little yellow as well, so let's adjust the temperature setting on that. And might help from a little adjustment on the exposure, a little contrast, and a little vibrance probably. We won't take the time to make adjustments on all of these, but I just want to show you some of the main features here. This one maybe is a little underexposed, so let's go to our exposure slider and just bring that up just a hair. This one really wasn't framed very well, and so let's show you how easy it is to change the framing on this. Just go up to this very top section here and click on the crop overlay, and you'll get a kind of a grid that shows up here, and you can easily readjust the image so that it will follow the rule of thirds a little better. We typically want to frame an image where the eyes are running through the top line of thirds there. So that's going to be a little better. And now to make this a more typical size image, we might need to bring in our sides a little bit. And when you're happy with your crop, then just hit the Enter key, and that becomes your new image. Now, I should say that Lightroom has not done anything to affect your original image. Lightroom will always maintain your original image, but the adjustments that you make in the develop mode will be what you print, what you eventually print in the end. But at any time you could go back and undo that cropping. And I should say that, okay, here's one that's really overexposed. Let's see what we can do with this. Let's go over to our exposure mode and just bring that down. And sometimes, it's just too bad you can't really recover it. But there still are some amazing things that you can accomplish using this develop tool. Now, I should say that all of these tools will work better with raw images. If I had been shooting JPEGs here in Peru, I would not be able to do as much with the develop tools that I have here. JPEGs just don't have the same depth using these adjustments. And so if you or your organization are not yet shooting your images in RAW, you really need to switch to RAW on your camera settings, because this will allow you to make much better quality corrections here in Lightroom. And not only now, but 10 years from now, the software that will process raw images is just going to be that much better. And so if you have original images that are in the raw camera format, you are always going to be a lot better off when it comes time to process your images. So that's a real pitch. You really need to seriously consider moving to shooting in RAW. I know without a program like Lightroom, shooting in RAW is very inconvenient to work with when it comes time to show your images and share your images. But once you get Lightroom or a program like it to process your raw images, you are so much better off. Let's maybe crop this one as well, better frame it. So while we probably would never use this image because it seems to be just a little bit blurred or out of focus, this gives you an idea of how you can take an image that was probably almost unusable and in Lightroom make it better. Okay, again, this one needs some cropping help. Let's change that. And it might be just a little bit overexposed. Let's bring that down. Maybe add a little contrast. Bring down the brightness a little. And maybe just hit the vibrance a little bit. This one's a little underexposed. Let's help that along a little bit. Underexposed. Punch that up a little bit. This was shot under fluorescent lighting, and so it is always a little bit dull, and the temperature is often a problem under fluorescent lighting. Let's add a little exposure, punch that up, and maybe add some contrast, some vibrance. Greens always look a little nicer with a little saturation, make the grass a little greener. This is a nice dramatic shot, but it's just underexposed. And it looks like this was shot with a fish eye, but the horizon isn't quite, you can see it's kind of at a slant. Well, I'll show you how easy it is to fix a horizon in Lightroom. Just go up to the same crop tool that you were using. And this is not only a crop tool, but also a way to change the angle of your images, and you can do that up here. When you click on it, it shows you more grids, which can help you decide how bad your problem is and help you level things up. And you can either use this slider bar to make an adjustment, or once it's clicked, you can also go down here to the very corner at the bottom, and you see you've got an angle that you can you have much more control over how you make your adjustments doing it this way. And when you've got something you're happy with, I think you've got it leveled up, just hit the enter key, and that makes the change. Okay, again here we've got some real problems with our white balance. Sometimes the camera, if it gets inside a room that has a skylight, for example, and a tinted skylight, the camera just doesn't read that very well, and you have to make some adjustments. But in Lightroom, it's very easy. You just go up to the temperature slider and just bring that back. And you can see how easy it is to make an adjustment that makes all the difference in the world for some of these images that have a white balance problem. And then we'll probably just want to add a little vibrance to that, a little contrast maybe. This one could use a little help on the exposure. When you're shooting pictures of yourself, you don't always get the best exposure. But in Lightroom, it's an easy fix, especially if you're shooting in raw images. Now here's a shot that's overexposed, but once again we can just make that better very easily. And there we go, all better. Underexposed, no problem. Okay, here's a situation where you've got some really harsh lighting problems. I believe this was like right around noon. The sun was right on top of us. And so you've got a situation where you've got some dark areas that are underexposed and some lighter areas that are overexposed. And with an image like this, what you do first of all is get the exposure correct for the main image. I think we just need to pull it down just a little bit. And then we can go in with our adjustment brush here. And with our adjustment brush, we can select just certain areas to change instead of the whole image. And over here, we can choose how we want to change it. We can have exposure up or down. We can have brightness up or down, contrast, saturation, clarity, sharpness, color. You've got a whole wide range of tools here that you can adjust just in that area. And you can adjust the size of your brush so that it's larger or smaller. And then once you've got your settings correct to what you want to do, you just go into those areas that you want to change. And there you go. Again, a real problem with the lighting, but we can bring that up over all the exposure and then just go into the faces themselves. Now our brush is probably too large for these faces. Let's bring the size of our brush down a little bit. And now there you go. Okay, overexposed. Bring that down, see how easy it is to fix. Now here's a shot that's so bad that you might just pass over it and not even pick it because the color is so bad, the white balance was so bad, it's overexposed. But in Lightroom, you can get all of this back. Let's close out of our little brush tool here. So we have our main section back prominent. And first of all, let's fix the white balance. Let's just slide this way back. And then let's work on our exposure. It might have been too much on the temperature. And you can try also adjusting brightness. Exposure. Maybe work with the contrast a little bit. And same for this one. Shot at the same time. Just back off on the temperature. Lighten up. A little bit overexposed. How quick the fix is. Probably got a problem on the color temperature here as well. Way too dark, but thanks to Lightroom, save the image. And here's another example where we probably might use our, let's get the main image up a little bit, as not too much, and then use our adjustment brush to go in and just bring out the face a little better. Okay, and then once you're happy with, let's maybe reframe this one. And then once you're happy with all of the adjustments, it's time to print your images. We say print, what I really mean is saving them to a file format that we can use. In other words, we're going to print to JPEG. We're going to print to a certain size. Now, what we want to do is, first of all, select the images that we want to print to JPEG. And if you want to export all of these to JPEG, all you have to do is with one of these selected, then go in and use your keyboard shortcut of Control-A to select all of those images. You'll notice that they turn on. And alternately, if you didn't want to print some of them to JPEG with your Control key down, you could go and unselect certain ones. And then when you're happy with your choices here of what you want to export, then we can go up to File and choose the Export option. And here in this pop-up window, you can set up some settings. I have already created some user presets, and you can add your own presets for whatever settings you typically would want to export to. For example, I have one that is just full res JPEGs that rather than take the time to go through all of these settings, now all I have to do is hit my full res JPEGs, and that fills in all of the settings for full res JPEGs. Or if I want to just export to JPEGs that are just 1200 pixels in width, well, I just have to click on that and I've got my presets ready to go very quickly. Facebook, 800 pixels in width. And you can set up any number of presets that you want here. And that way, depending on the type of export that you want to do, you can very quickly do that. Let's maybe add one where we are creating JPEGs for the internet that are only 600 pixels in width. And so we'll call it JPEGs 600. And now let's change our export folder. Let's make a new folder. Let's call it Peru JPEGs 600. We could choose, if we wanted to, we could rename these files as we're doing it. We could have a custom name that we could choose, or we could use the date and the file name and a sequenced number. So that's a very helpful tool. And then we can set up the format if we want to. We could save to TIFFs, for example, or PSD file, originals, DNG, you're not just stuck to JPEG, but for internet purposes, JPEG is usually the best. And over here you can choose your quality. And I usually just go with, for internet purposes, for web purposes, you can just go with 90. You could just type it in if you prefer. And color space I leave on sRGB. And the really nice thing about the export tool of Lightroom is that here on the image resizing, we can select an option to do width and height. And this gives us the opportunity to set up the dimensions for both verticals and horizontals to be 600. That way we don't have to separate our exports, doing one process for verticals and one process for horizontals. Let's set the resolution to 72 pixels per inch. And you could have sharpen for screen on, that's fine for web use. And then I think that we're ready to export. And up in the corner you can see the progress bar. And if you like, you could open up the folder on your hard drive and watch the images come in. And then we could also verify that we're getting the corrected images. You remember how badly white balanced this image was, but in the export, that has come in properly. And we could check the dimensions here on a horizontal image. We've got exactly what we asked for, a small image for the internet, 600 by 400. Let's check one of these verticals, and we'll see that it has correctly chosen to export this in a way where the height is 600 and not the width. And so that's very handy to be able to export both horizontals and verticals in the same export. And now anytime that we ever again want to export to JPEG 600 for the internet, we can just click on our user preset. And you would find it very helpful to set up a number of presets. You could set up a JPEGs 300, a JPEGs 100, and that way whatever purpose you need your images for, you can quickly go into your Lightroom project, pick the images that you need, make the corrections, choose the export preset, and just within a matter of minutes have your processed, resized images for exactly the size that you need. And so there you have it, how to process images with Lightroom.